So welcome to Queerguru TV and congratulations on your two magnificent and stunning productions in this year's Tennessee Williams Festival. I know this is not your first time, but it's my first time here. So you're a South African company performing one of America's finest writers' plays, influenced by a 14th century Japanese style. How more diverse can you get? Fred, can we start with you describing what happens in the Lady Aoi and some of your thought process in creating that production?
It is basically a story about unrequited love, and it starts at the end of the play and it kind of moves backwards and goes right until the youth. And it's written almost in little haikus. The script is only about 9 pages long, but it is incredibly dense, and it's about a man lying at the deathbed of his wife, and then the strange character of the nurse inhabiting the room, who then transforms into his previous lover and then goes right back to when they were young. And when you read the play, towards the end, there's a stage direction in which Mishima says, "A yacht enters from stage left." So the challenge of how do we do that, and we used Lady Aoi herself is a puppet, and we use her, and the boys literally inhabit the puppet. Some people like to interpret it as a gay love story, which is fine, but a lot of straight people have seen it and gone, "Oh my God, I've been the older person in a relationship with a younger person," and people on all sides of the gender spectrum have totally identified with the play. It's universal, falling in love, being dumped, not being fulfilled, being the older in a relationship, being the younger, all of those things, it's universal, and that's why he's such a phenomenal writer.
Is it mixed because he was allegedly a closeted homosexual?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like Tennessee Williams, you couldn't be out like you are today. So a lot of their writing kind of subjugated and had these themes underneath it, which clearly spoke about the other, and particularly Williams, even the other in terms of race.
Yeah. Marcel, we have to start by congratulating you on 2 superb performances, and you were a real tour de force in the Night of Iguana in particular. Can we talk about the story of that play and how you approach playing the part?
Well, the wonderful thing about Williams is he writes these incredibly complex and tormented souls, and he gives you such a large scope and an arc to play, because there's so much about him that's not good, and then there's always that something redeeming in his characters. So it's to be able to really delve, and the poetry of the language is always just such a gift, to be able to speak those words that you almost don't have to act if you're just in the moment and really speaking that incredible text, because it's I believe that Williams, like Shakespeare, really heard the plays in his head, and that's why they're so actable for actors, as opposed to other, I suppose, more cerebral writers who are trying to write concepts and ideas, which become harder to act. But Williams and Shakespeare, the music of it is so actable and so inhabitable that you don't actually have to put anything onto it other than just doing the thing, which is always a gift to any actor.
I think Williams and Mishima are both text-driven.
Yeah.
All the information as a director and an actor that you need are in your text.
As a side of the story, did you know that when John Huston shot the movie, it was in Puerto Vallarta, which is now a major gay destination? He knew something we didn't know in the back of those days. Fred, Marcel, you founded your company in 2006, which is kind of kismet, because that's when David Kaplan started his festival. But even then, you connected with him. You were doing productions of Williams on your own. What fascinates you about his work?
Well, I think because of where he came from and what he wrote about, there are so many parallels to our own history in South Africa. The South was racially segregated, as was South Africa, and Williams did touch on those subjects in such a human way that I think really moves an audience, as opposed to sometimes plays can be overtly politicized, which sometimes alienates an audience, whereas a playwright like Williams puts all that political background and agenda into the plays, but in such a human way that you are moved on both levels. And I think that's because we always look for writers that speak to our own situation in South Africa, but that will also give the audience a chance to broaden their own horizons and see the world in a different way and realize that maybe on the other side of the world things are different and similar at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the apartheid era and was educated in all the things that went with white privilege under apartheid, and then we entered that era of struggle theatre, which was protest theatre, which was kind of, we always kind of said, for every finger that points, there's a whole lot pointing back at you, And with the removal of legislation, I mean, I always look at it as an iceberg. Legislation is the third above the water. The other 2/3 is human nature, and that's what sinks the Titanic, And we have a lot of work in your country and in our country to do against all those phobias and racism, and I suppose what I look for what we look for as a company is plays that address that, whether it is a deformed Richard III in a society, or whether it is a Tennessee Williams, whether it's a Blanche Dubois, whether it's a Stanley, these people who are the other, the outsiders, and wonderful universal plays that they write.
What was the driving force between the two of you starting your own company in the first place, and how would you describe the theatre scene back home now?
I think one of the main reasons we wanted to start a company is when democracy came to South Africa, which was incredible, obviously the arts policies had to be readdressed, and that led to the closing of what used to be the national theatres, who could afford to do big productions of the classics. And in that interim period when the big national theatres had been shut down, there were no more companies doing it, and independent producers were too scared to risk on putting 20 people on the stage in a Tennessee Williams or a Shakespeare. And it was a great pity for audiences and for actors in the country not to be able to play these great parts and for audiences not to see these great plays. And we both love the classics, so we started finding ways of doing these big plays so we call them bonsai productions, with smaller companies. So we did Richard III with 3 actors, we've done Hamlet with 6 actors. And that way you're still giving the audience the full scope of it, and somehow by using a smaller company, the storyline becomes so streamlined, with the investment from all the actors, because everyone's working the whole time, as opposed to a big 20 cast production where you're waiting for your bit and you only ask and you're coming right at the end of Hamlet. To have 6 people so invested in a play really, I think, lifts the play to a new level. So it's actually been a blessing to have something taken away and having to find new ways to do these incredible plays.
I think also for us, what is happening back home, and I think it's happening across the world, is people are stripping things out of the education system. Why should kids study Shakespeare? Why should we do Roman history? Why should we? And a big part of what we do back home is we have a children's festival that we do, and we do a lot of the Shakespeares and the classics for young audiences. Sometimes we play to 600 school kids who are studying these books. And for us, it's very important back home not to strip that away, to make these plays and world literature accessible. I find that who are we to say what the next generation should look at and learn and study? They should be given the full smorgasbord and then be able to choose what they want. But what we're doing is we're starting on a world level to censor. We're going to take that out the syllabus because it's Cologne. Oh, he was a white writer, and you can't do that play because this and that and that. And I think we are robbing the young people of the future of the right, the constitutional right to a free education across the board. And that's a very strong driving force in our company back home, is to keep great literature, philosophy, the classics, keep it alive and stimulate that debate amongst them. And the response is amazing. You must see 400 or 500 kids of mixed race back home watching something like Richard III, which is about corruption, which is happening across the world. And those kids boo when Richard's crowned. They stamp on the scaffolding in protest. They totally and utterly get classic literature.
How did David Kaplan find you? We should explain the curator and the founder is
We were planning
in some bar somewhere.
a production of a very obscure Tennessee Williams play called Kingdom of Earth. And we were hoping to, because we always try and find partners that to give the productions more longevity and a broader audience. And we unsolicited sent him an email saying, we're a company from South Africa, we do classical work, and we are thinking of doing this play that no one ever does, and would you be interested in having it? And literally 5 minutes later there was an email like, yes,
that's David. That's David.
David Kaplan, and the things he has roped us into doing.
What's next for you guys?
Glass Menagerie.
Glass Menagerie. It's the 75th anniversary of the...
That you're doing in South Africa or in America?
Back in South Africa,
Yeah.
in Cape Town. So that will be the final production for the season.
30 years ago I directed it, so we're doing that.
You're not that old. Does everybody else in South Africa share your passion for Williams?
A lot of the audiences do. There's something about his writing that I think has touched so many people. And he is treasured by people. And there's something... People in... Every time you have... When we do the Williams plays back home, there are obviously audiences who have known him and loved him for a long time. And then people who sort of discover him for the first time. And then you can see that love affair starting as well. Because he is an incredible playwright.
Silly question. I know you'll be back next year.
Yes.
Who decides what you're going to perform?
It's a collaboration
with you and David.
He's got a bucket list, we've got a bucket list, and depending on what the theme is, we try and coordinate.
But the fantastic thing about what has happened with the festival is that there are people from North Carolina here, Preston Lane from Triad Stages here. We, as a result of the festival, took Desire Under the Elms to North Carolina. Marcel and I taught a semester there. Preston's come now for the first time to the festival. He wants us to go back there. We've been Lane Salvador, who's at the festival.
From Philadelphia?
We went to Philadelphia. We did some workshops. We did a production there. And Carrie Houck we were the first production to open the St. Louis, Tennessee.
A few years back.
In St. Louis. So what has happened is all these people are here and we're kind of meeting and going, yes, we must, they want us to do stuff. So it's this wonderful thing where this shared experience is
That's
happening.
what David always, when there's an artist orientation every year for the festival, when and he starts it off by saying, if you're from South Africa, get up. If you're from Cyprus, get up. If you're from Texas, just to show the scope of where people have come from to honor this man's writing. And the one thing he always says is, this is the place where collaborations start. This is the place where a bigger thing starts happening. And it is so true because across David's come out to South Africa to direct his production of Day on Which Man Dies in South Africa.
The Ghanaians came, they went to
People from
Washington.
Ghana, it's incredible.
No, it is, and also from us here. I mean, I'm home by now, but back in the south. But I've never seen any festival, film or whatever, so well. Every audience is packed, and everyone's excited, and everyone's got spent a lot of money in these passes. It's really uplifting. It's really uplifting. Well, thank you for talking to us. I know you've got to run because you've got 8 hours on the stage. So the one on the right is the mad one.
Yeah.
2 iguanas, which is 3 hours long.
Yeah.
2 ladies, which is an hour long. Good luck. But thank you so much, and we look forward to seeing you again next year.
Okay.
Thank you.